All right, diving in today. We're all about past lives.
Ooh, fascinating.
Yeah, and how they might be, like influencing us right now in our everyday lives.
I love it.
You guys sent in some really cool stuff. We're looking at a video called Discover Who You Were in Your Past Life. It's got that you will be shocked energy.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right. And it talks about this the cyclical nature of life, in Buddhist teachings, and how we carry these lessons and this karma from all these past lives. It's wild. So imagine if we could actually tap into that. What if we could uncover hidden talents or, those patterns we keep repeating, the good and the bad ones, maybe even those challenges that just keep coming back.
Right, why does this keep happening?
Exactly. Ready to see what this video is all about?
Oh, absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so it's saying that certain feelings and behaviors in our lives right now, they could be hints about our past life experiences.
I think it's important to remember, though, it's not suggesting, you literally lived as a knight or a queen in a past life, right?
Right.
It's more using this idea of past lives as a way to understand ourselves better, like a framework. Those recurring patterns and tendencies, maybe they have deeper roots than we realize.
So it's using past lives as a way to look at our present.
Yeah, and they present these different, they call them archetypes, with specific feelings and behaviors that might suggest a past life connection.
Ooh, archetypes.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so what kind of archetypes are we talking?
Well, the first one is the loner. Think about it, do you ever feel that pull toward being alone, even when you're surrounded by friends and family?
Yeah, sometimes, for sure.
So maybe you really need that quiet time to recharge or feel most at peace, when you're just by yourself.
Totally. My best friend, she's like that.
Well, the video suggests that this pull towards solitude could actually be linked to a past life. Maybe you were a hermit or a wise person who needed that space. Or it could be connected to someone who experienced a really significant loss in a past life.
Oh, wow. So it's those past life experiences left an imprint.
Exactly, an imprint on the soul that's creating that preference for solitude.
Interesting. So it's not that being a loner is bad, but maybe in this life it's about finding a balance.
Yes, exactly. Finding that balance between enjoying solitude and nurturing those connections with other people. So then, there's the other end of the spectrum, like the archetype of someone who's really drawn to war and action.
Okay, yeah, I know a few people like that. Always up for a challenge, kind of thrive on intensity.
Right. So the video connects this fascination with war stories, military strategy, that kind of stuff, to a possible past life as a soldier, a warrior, or someone who just faced a lot of adversity, a ton of challenges.
That makes sense. They're carrying that energy over from those past experiences.
Yeah, and then the question becomes how do you channel that energy in this lifetime? How do you find healthy and constructive ways to express that warrior spirit?
Ooh, I love that. Instead of, conquering battlefields, they're conquering boardrooms or leading social justice movements.
Right, turning that intensity into something positive. So, okay, now let's talk born leaders.
Yeah.
These are the folks who just naturally step up and take charge. People look to them for guidance and they just have this presence about them.
I feel we all know a few natural leaders. Or maybe you're that person for your friend group or in your family.
Well, the video is saying this inclination to lead, it might come from past lives where you actually were a leader, like a king or a queen or a tribal chief, a spiritual leader, maybe even a military commander.
Wow. It's they've been practicing for centuries.
Right. And so then the challenge in this life might be figuring out how to use that leadership in a wise and compassionate way.
Oh, that's a good point. Balancing that natural authority with empowering others.
Exactly. Okay, now this next archetype, I think a lot of our listeners are going to resonate with. Curious about mysteries and spirituality. Do you find yourself drawn to the unknown, the mystical stuff, the spiritual side of things?
Oh yeah, big time.
Well, this archetype often points to a past life where you were super into that stuff. You might have been a priest, a monk, a healer, or someone who studied like occult knowledge. So it's like you spent a past life really exploring the deeper mysteries, and that curiosity is carried over.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So like someone who loves reading about ancient cultures or, exploring different spiritual practices.
Yeah.
Or just like thinking about the big questions in life.
Exactly. And for them, this life might be about finding that balance between the spiritual and the material world. Like
Yeah.
how do you take those mystical insights and actually make them practical?
Right. So it's about taking those past life tendencies and figuring out how they can help us like navigate the present in a more fulfilling way.
Right. And it's not just about like uncovering the past, but about, how do we use that information to empower ourselves today? So, okay, let's talk about the entrepreneur or innovator archetype. Those people who are always brimming with ideas, always tinkering, always dreaming up new things.
I know a few people like that, always starting side hustles and coming up with like the next big invention.
Right. They're the ones who always seem to be pushing boundaries. Well, the video suggests this drive to create might come from past lives as like inventors, merchants, pioneers. They're the ones who are always exploring new frontiers and coming up with new ways to do things.
It's like it's in their DNA.
Exactly.
Right.
So then the question is, how do they channel that innovative energy in this life, right? How do they use that energy to like benefit themselves and the world around them?
And probably how do they use the lessons they learned, maybe the hard way, in those past lives to help them now?
That's a great point. Okay, now the caretaker or protector archetype. Do you know anyone who's like the ultimate nurturer? Always looking out for other people, offering a helping hand.
Oh yeah, I think we all know someone like that. They're like the glue that holds everything together.
Right, they're just like naturally caring people. So the video suggests those folks might have spent past lives as caretakers, nurses, or maybe people who were responsible for the well-being of their community.
It's like that caring instinct is just a part of who they are.
And the challenge for them in this life, often it's about setting boundaries. It's about learning to balance taking care of others with taking care of themselves.
Oh yeah, self-care is so important, especially for people who give so much of themselves to others.
Exactly. Now, okay, so we've talked about the loner, those drawn to war and action, the born leaders, the spiritual seekers, innovators, and the caretakers. Are you starting to see how these might connect with, you or people you know?
I'm seeing it, for sure.
Now, what I find really fascinating is how the video also uses these archetypes to understand our challenges. It's not just about our strengths,
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, there's the fear of failure archetype. Like, have you ever felt that just like crippling anxiety about failing? That voice in your head saying, what if I mess up?
Oh my gosh, yes, all the time. That fear can be so paralyzing.
Right. And the video is suggesting that this intense fear might actually be connected to a past life where you did experience a big failure or a downfall. It's like the soul remembers that experience and carries that fear into this lifetime.
That's like heavy. So like, how do you even break free from that?
Well, the video talks about reframing failure. Instead of seeing it as this like terrible thing, see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. It's about taking those past life lessons and using them to become stronger.
Okay, I like that. So instead of letting the fear hold you back, you use it to fuel your growth.
Exactly. Okay, so there are also archetypes connected to more specific fears, like the fear of water. Some people have this like intense primal fear of water. Like they avoid swimming, boating, being near large bodies of water, anything to do with water.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that. So what's that about?
The video is saying it could be linked to a past life trauma, something like a shipwreck or drowning. Like the soul remembers that traumatic experience and it triggers this instinctive fear response in this life.
Wow. So then on the other side of that, there's the attraction to the sea, right? Like some people just feel this pull toward the ocean. They feel most at peace, when they're near the water.
Right. That pull toward the ocean could actually mean you had a past life that was connected to the sea in a big way. Maybe you were a sailor, a navigator, a fisherman, an explorer, something like that.
It's like their soul just remembers the ocean and feels this sense of belonging there.
Yes, exactly. Okay, now this next one I think is super interesting. It's called the misunderstood gifts archetype. These are the people who feel different, like they have these unique abilities or sensitivities that other people don't always understand or appreciate.
Yeah, they might feel like they don't quite fit in, right?
Right. And they're often the ones who are labeled weird or different growing up.
So what does the video say about that?
It suggests that this feeling of being misunderstood might come from a past life where they were actually persecuted or marginalized because of their unique gift. Maybe they were labeled like a witch or an outcast for just seeing the world differently.
Oh, wow. So they were punished for being different in a past life.
In a way, yes. And so in this life, the challenge is about learning to embrace those gifts without fear. It's about finding your tribe, the people who celebrate your uniqueness. And of course, using your gifts in a positive way.
It's like owning your power, your unique way of being in the world.
Exactly. Okay, the last archetype we'll touch on in this section is the trapped in routine archetype. Think about the people who, feel stuck in a rut, going through the motions of life, no spark.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of, is this all there is? Like, there's got to be something more.
Right. Well, the video suggests this feeling of being trapped might be connected to a past life where they had very limited freedom. Like, they were stuck in rigid structures with not a lot of opportunity for change.
So their soul remembers that feeling of confinement and is like yearning for something more expansive in this life.
Exactly. And so in this life, it's about taking risks, trying new things, breaking out of those self-imposed limitations.
Shaking things up and stepping outside that comfort zone.
Right. Okay, so we just went over a lot, like all these different archetypes and how they might be showing up in our lives right now. But I think it's important to remember that these aren't like labels to put on ourselves.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
They're just starting points, invitations to like explore your own experiences and see what resonates with you. Like which one feels most true for you? And how might that past life connection be playing out in your life right now? Take some time to really think about it.
Yeah, good advice.
We'll be back to explore even more in the next part of this deep dive, so stay tuned. It's kind of wild to think about how these archetypes, they might actually help us understand, like, the emotional baggage we might be carrying from past lives. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Like those irrational fears or anxieties that just don't seem to make sense in this life.
Yeah, it's like they're these echoes, from those past experiences. They're whispering to us like, hey, remember that time?
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
But also kind of cool. So recognizing these echoes is a good thing.
I think so. The video says it can actually be like a huge step toward healing and growth. Because if we can understand where these patterns are coming from, these tendencies, we can actually make different choices about how we deal with them.
So instead of feeling like controlled by our past, we can use it to become stronger, more self-aware.
Exactly. And this is where the whole concept of karma comes in.
Okay, karma. Isn't that like about punishment?
Well, the video explains that in Buddhist teachings, karma isn't about punishment. It's more about cause and effect.
Okay, so it's not like we're doomed by our past actions.
Right. It's more about understanding how those actions, they shaped us. They got us to where we are today. And most importantly, we can choose to act differently now.
So it's about taking responsibility.
Exactly. We're not just puppets, repeating our past lives over and over again. We can learn, we can grow, and we can create new, more positive karmic patterns.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting for me. The video talks about actually accessing memories from past lives, like through deep meditation, guided visualizations, even regression therapy. Have you ever explored any of that stuff?
I've definitely dabbled in meditation and visualization. I think they're like super valuable for exploring the deeper parts of our consciousness,
Yeah.
It's not always about reliving specific events from a past life, but more about like connecting with that deeper sense of self, a wisdom that goes way beyond this current lifetime.
I love that, tapping into that inner wisdom. And the video also mentions dreams as a gateway to past life memories.
Oh yeah, for sure. Dreams are like this direct line to the subconscious mind, That's where all those past life impressions might be stored. The video actually recommends keeping a dream journal, paying attention to recurring symbols or themes, and even like practicing lucid dreaming to actively explore those dream realms.
So by paying attention to our dreams, we could be like unlocking messages from our past selves. What if those crazy dreams are actually trying to tell us something?
It's all about like listening to those whispers of our soul, those intuitive nudges that might be guiding us.
So cool. Okay, I want to circle back to something the video emphasized. Using this knowledge about our past lives to make positive changes in the present. It's not just about uncovering these stories, it's about actually applying those insights to live a better life.
Exactly. The video is really urging people to take action based on what they discover. Like, let's say you uncover a past life where you felt totally restricted or trapped. Maybe that's a sign to embrace more freedom and creativity in this life.
So it's like taking those past life lessons and turning them into like fuel for growth, for transformation.
Yes, it's about empowering ourselves to create a more fulfilling future.
Okay, I'm loving this. So it's not just about personal transformation, right?
Yeah.
The video also talks about how understanding our past lives can help us create a more compassionate and understanding world.
Oh, absolutely. Like, if we can remember that everyone is carrying their own set of experiences, their own karmic baggage, so to speak, it just naturally creates more empathy, more connection.
Totally, like we're all in this together.
Exactly. And instead of, judging people for their behaviors or choices, we can try to see them through a lens of understanding. They might be working through stuff that stems from, like, lifetimes ago.
Look at that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. Always.
Right. We never really know what someone else is going through, or, what they've been through.
And this understanding, it can go way beyond our personal relationship.
Oh, for sure. It can influence, like, how we deal with social issues, different cultures, even, like, political disagreements. It's about that shared humanity, even when we totally disagree.
So it's not just about personal growth. It's about, like, creating a more compassionate world for everyone.
It really is. It all starts with that inner journey, being willing to explore our own depths and recognizing how connected we all are.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I got to ask, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this today?
I think the biggest thing is that this concept of past lives, it's not meant to be taken literally. It's more like a framework, a way to understand ourselves on a deeper level. It's a way to see the patterns and tendencies that shape our lives.
So it's not about dwelling on the past. It's about using those insights to make better choices now.
Yes, it's about, like, taking ownership of our journey, recognizing that we have the power to create the life we want, even if it means, like, breaking free from those old karmic patterns.
It's about living a more conscious and meaningful life, right?
Exactly. And for everyone listening, if this has sparked your curiosity, keep exploring. Dive deeper into what you sent us. Maybe try some of those practices the video mentioned, like the meditation or the dream journaling.
Yeah, you never know what you might find.
And remember, it's a journey. Be patient with yourself, be curious, and, have fun with it.
It's about embracing, like, the mystery and magic of being human.
Right, totally. And who knows, maybe in some future lifetime, we'll look back on this moment and say, that's when it all clicked. That's when I really started to remember who I am.
I love that. Okay, until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
It's crazy to think that, like, all this past life stuff, it could be affecting not just us, but, like, how we get along with everybody else,
Totally. Imagine if we, like, approached every interaction knowing that the other person might be carrying around, like, unseen burdens from who knows how many lifetimes ago. Wouldn't that, like, change how we react when things get, tense or we disagree?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It'd be like, whoa, hold on, there's so much more going on here than I realized.
Right. It's like that saying about walking a mile in someone else's shoes.
Right.
But, like, times 1,000. We're not just thinking about their life now, but, like, potentially lifetimes of experiences that we have no clue about.
It makes you want to be a lot more understanding, doesn't it?
Definitely. It makes you realize, wow, I need to be more patient, more forgiving.
It's like, instead of getting defensive or, judging someone right away, we can pause and be like, wait a minute. What might this person be carrying with them that I have no idea about?
Right. Just that little bit of curiosity, it can create so much more space for, like, empathy and connection. It reminds us we're all in this crazy journey together, each of us with our own, like, unique set of experiences.
And that compassion is key. Right. When things are tough or we disagree.
Totally. We've been talking about this ancient wisdom of past lives, but really I think it's about using those insights to, like, be better humans now.
That's what I love about it. It's not just, like, a history lesson. It's about how to live a better life, more compassionately, more connected to everyone.
Exactly. So we're wrapping up our deep dive into past lives, and I'm curious, what's the one thing you're hoping our listeners will take away from all of this?
Ooh, good question. What about you?
I think the most important thing is to remember that, like, this whole concept of past lives, it's not about feeling limited, or like our destiny is set in stone.
Yeah.
It's about realizing how deep and complex we are, and, like, using that understanding to create a life that feels, good, a life that feels meaningful.
It's almost like we're not just starting from scratch in this life.
Yeah.
We have all this experience going back, like, forever, and we get to choose how we use all of that to shape who we are now and who we become.
Yes. We have so much power to create our own reality. And I think the more we understand about ourselves, including those echoes from our past, the more we can make conscious choices.
I love that. So to everyone listening, if this deep dive has sparked something in you, don't stop here. Go back to the material you sent us. Really dig in. Try some of the things the video talked about.
Yeah, like the meditation or keeping a dream journal. That always brings up cool stuff.
It's amazing what you might discover about yourself.
Just remember to be patient. This is a journey, not like a quick fix. There's always more to learn, more to uncover and put together into who you are.
Be curious and, most importantly, have fun.
Exactly. Life is a mystery. Embrace the magic of it all.
Who knows? Maybe in some future life we'll look back on this moment and be like, that's when I finally started to remember.
Maybe. But until then, keep seeking, keep growing, keep diving deep.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.